Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Biohacking with Brittany. Welcome back to the Her Stack series. I am so excited that you are joining me today to do this again. I started this series pretty recently, actually, like a few weeks ago, and I really wanted to create something that was focused on women's health goals and how we could approach it from a very holistic standpoint, but also including peptides and biohacks and fringe things that some people know about, not a lot of people do. And that's why I kind of created this entire series. Now, this episode specifically is focused on motherhood. It is focused on maternal mental health. This is something that I have struggled with personally. This is really close to my heart and close to a lot of the women in my community. And I wanted to take the time to share with you all of the things that you can do if you relate to anything I'm about to say for the next hour. Please know that everything I say will be in the show notes and is on my website. So if you're driving your car, if you're walking your dog or doing the dishes, whatever you're doing, like you have a place where everything is linked, all the products are there, all the recommendations are there. So don't worry about writing it down or forgetting or that type of thing, okay? So there are resources available for you that is really easy and accessible. For those who are new, welcome. I am Brittany Ford. I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I am board certified in longevity medicine and peptide therapy. I have a community. I work with women one-on-one. I have a podcast, social media. What else do I do? I have a program, a signature program now. And oh my gosh, I do all sorts of things. I'm coming out with a planner, a peptide planner, my Her Stack peptide planner, which is specifically for women. The sample copy is on the way to me right now, hopefully. And then it will be available if you are wanting to keep track of your peptides in a much more beautiful way, an easy way, and less taking up your mental space way. Speaking of mental space. So that is kind of everything that's on the docket right now. And I do want to preface this with, I am running a free masterclass next week for moms, for all the mamas, June 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't come live, you can get the replay, okay? I know so many women work, I work, and that's can be a hard time for you depending on where you live and your time zones. The replay comes to you, okay? In your inbox within a few hours, download it, watch it, that type of thing, the link, it's very easy. So if you are listening to this podcast episode and you're like, I want to go deeper, I want to know more about longevity and peptides for moms, that is for you. It's 90 minutes. And I highly, highly suggest that you listen to it, sign up. It's free. You just get to be educated in a much deeper way than I can really do on any type of podcast episode. I'm very excited about that. It has been on my heart to do something for moms for a while now. And honestly, I didn't know what it was going to look like and I'm going to get into this next week during the masterclass because I don't want to cry, but things have been so sensitive and emotional. And these last 2 years have been a lot, as every new mother understands. And so I didn't know what I wanted to say and the point that I wanted to make was. And now I do. And I want to be able to give hope to all those moms out there. And so please sign up for that. Again, it's free. Just watch it. You'll learn from it. And I would love to have you there. If you can come live, amazing, because there is the live Q&A at the end. So if you have specific questions about longevity or your peptide stack, that is actually where I can answer them live, which is awesome. So that is the bonus for coming. And then there's the bonus as well for my program, my signature program for mothers, which will be announced during that live call. And that is only for people who show up live as well, just so you know. Okay, but today we are getting into maternal mental health. And I really want to be so clear on this right from the get-go. This is not just for 6 weeks postpartum mama. This is for the mom who has 4 kids, who feels like a taxi, who kind of lost herself along the way. This is for the mom whose youngest just started kindergarten. This is for the mom who maybe became a grandma. Or this is for the mom who now has an empty nest. And she's like, oh, okay, my kids are teenagers. Now they're graduated. They've moved on. Now what? This is for all of you. And the mental health, oh my gosh, the mental health load on mothers is so significant and it changes throughout the different phases of motherhood. And we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to give you research, the science behind some of these recommendations. And we're going to go through things that I have seen personally for myself, for my clients, and in the research that actually can help moms. Yeah, this is so close to my heart. I'm going to share in a little bit my own mental health journey because I think that's really important to be open about it. And so I just want you to know that I am coming from a place of, wow, I didn't know I could feel better like how I do now 6 months ago. I wish someone had told me to do X, Y, and Z. I wish someone had said, hey, Brittany, like, I see that you're struggling and this is actually something that can help. And so that's what I want to provide for you. Okay, let's dive in. I've pulled some statistics because I think this is a great place to start. So 1 in 5 mothers will experience a mood or anxiety disorder. It's actually 1 in 6 in Canada. Half say the symptoms started in pregnancy, not after, which is really interesting. And the rest say that it could have arrived weeks, months, or even years later after birth. The US postpartum depression diagnosis rate went from 9% in 2010 to 19% in 2021. And so that's more than doubling. And I wonder where it is now in 2026, actually, because I would argue it's definitely more than that. Anxiety is bigger than people realize. So 28% of mothers had clinically significant anxiety at 2 months postpartum. And that is more than 1 in 4. And that is not just the baby blues that people like to kind of lump and tuck under the rug and not talk about. There is a screening gap. So less than 20% of women are ever screened for maternal mental health. And 80% of mothers are never even asked. I can speak in my own experience. I think I was asked by my midwife, I don't know, at the 6-week appointment, and that was it. We have a doctor, and mind you, he has his place in our family health system. It's not very prevalent, but he has his place. And he has never asked me like mentally how I'm doing or doing those types of checkups or, doing that. There's a quiz you can actually fill out when you go to the doctor's office that can screen you for postpartum depression. I've never been asked that. I've never done any of that. Suicide is a leading cause of maternal death in the first year of postpartum. And the highest risk window is actually 9 to 12 months later. So it's not in those first few months. And that's kind of after that point where people stop checking on you, right? Like it's all about the baby. The baby's turning 1. Oh my goodness. But the thing is like that first year is just the beginning. Years later, there is so much that women carry when you run a household and you run a family that who's checking up on all of those mothers, who's asking how they are mentally doing. And I actually want to talk about this right now because the brain structurally actually changes during pregnancy and after pregnancy and is permanently changed. So I'm going to read this out here. There was a gray matter study out of the University of Barcelona, which was the first of its kind, and it scanned women before pregnancy, after delivery, and 2 years later. This was published in 2017. Researchers could correctly identify every single pregnant woman from her brain scan alone. And that's how consistent these changes were. So what changed? There was a measurable reduction in gray matter in social cognition regions. The brain literally specialized, remodeled, for motherhood. This explains why you wake up at the slightest sound. You can read your kid's expression from across the room. And this was still present 2 years postpartum. Now, they did a 2026 follow-up of this study and found that second pregnancies, the brain remodeled again. So this is not like a one and done type of situation. You're not the woman who you were before motherhood, not emotionally, not metaphorically, not physically. And your brain is a structurally different organ. And nobody told you that. And I was not told that. Even in this health optimization space that I'm in, I knew somewhat that the brain changed, but I didn't understand what that would mean on a daily basis for me and how I would think through things, show up things, be able to carry things or not carry things. So that is like one whole thing that is happening, okay, once you have a kid, is the brain structurally changes. Next, we need to talk about hormones. So this is so interesting. There is a neurosteroid withdrawal. Progesterone climbs to 10 to 20% pre-pregnancy levels once you become pregnant. The body converts progesterone into allopregnanolone, which is a GABA modulator, which basically keeps you calm. And this is kind of why third trimester you feel peaceful or more relaxed. I mean, you might be in physical pain more because you're carrying so much, but you're definitely like more, at least I was as well, like just calmer. There's a lot of progesterone circulating in your body all day. Now, within 24 to 48 hours of delivering the placenta, that progesterone plummets to nearly zero, and the allopregnanolone collapses with it. So that chemical that kept you calm for 9 months, helped with stress, is gone overnight. This is literally called the neurosteroid withdrawal in research. And I actually did not know about this until I was putting together this maternal health episode. So much so that there's a drug for it. An FDA-approved drug. Imagine that. It's called Zurzuvae. That's the oral version. And then there's also a IV synthetic version as well. Now, it's very expensive. The IV version, according to the stat, is $34,000 per infusion, and it has a 60-hour inpatient stay. So I don't know who can drop $34,000 on an IV. Not a lot of people. But that's how seriously medicine actually takes this withdrawal, is the fact that there are FDA-approved IVs and drugs for this, and it's documented, and it's a well-known withdrawal that we see. And almost no mother is talking about this or is told about this or is told, hey, you can't afford this prescription. Maybe you don't have access to it, or you can't afford this IV. Let's see what else we can do. So all this to say, especially, and then we are going to widen the arc of motherhood in this episode, but within those first 2 years, I do want you to hear me when I say there's nothing wrong with you. There is so much happening in your biology, in your body, that it makes sense that you don't feel like yourself. It makes sense that you might not feel good. You might feel anxious or depressed or overwhelmed or stretched or stressed or all of those. You might feel frustrated. I went through like all of those emotions. I think every single mother does. So it's not wrong with you. This is what happened to your body, and your body is recovering. And this idea that postpartum is take 3 months off work, 6 months off work, maybe 1 year is a joke, is an absolute joke. We literally have the signs right here. Your brain has structurally changed for 2 years afterwards. Your hormones take forever to balance back after you had a baby. And so any expectations we place on ourselves in order to be back to how we were or bounce back culture, as toxic as it is garbage. There are things that we can do, and that is the point of this episode. I want to start with nutrition. As a nutritionist, this is the foundation. This is so important. And I think we're at a point now where most moms kind of see this. I think we realize, hey, look, I got to have my macros in order. I got to be taking these certain supplements. I'm going to get to supplements in a second here. And I think we're at a better place now with this. When we're talking about nutrition, I want to start with omegas, DHA. And honestly, looking back, I think I should have taken more DHA than I did. The dominant omega-3 really helps with these neuronal membranes that are in the brain. This is because the baby actually pulls from your stores during pregnancy and breastfeeding. And so you're actually stripping your brain of these omegas. This is the strongest nutritional driver for postpartum brain fog and the strongest link to postpartum disorder. So, most prenatals contain a fraction of 2 grams. So, please check your labels, check what your supplement says. And if you weaned 5 years ago and you actually never rebuilt these stores, you're still running low today. So, let me back up for a second here. All the mamas listening to this, if you're within that, I'm going to call it this 2-year window post baby, I want you to be taking omegas, 2 grams of DHA, 2 grams of DHA a day. However, if you had a baby 5 years ago and you weren't super healthy, maybe during that time, maybe you are now, you probably still need to rebuild those stores. So this is kind of one of the supplements or one of the recommendations nutritionally for every single mother listening to this episode. Now, you can take a supplement for this, and you can also get it through your food. Salmon, fish, seafood, that type of thing. Personally, I like to take a supplement for this because I think I like to make sure that I'm getting enough in. When I was traveling and I was in, oh my gosh, Panama, Mexico, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, I was definitely eating more seafood than I am now being back in Canada. So I am taking omegas right now. Absolutely. One of the brands that I like, the current one I'm taking is actually from, is it Dr. Mercola? They sent me a whole bunch, but the one that I do like is Needed has one, and you can use my discount code biohacking and I think We Natal has one. Let me check quickly. So I'm going to get to this in a second, but let's see what it says. Yes. Okay. So We Natal does have one. And I really like the team at We Natal. So I do recommend them to everybody. Okay, now let's take a look. So We Natal, very interesting. As an example, right, when we're looking at supplements, their DHA in fish oil has 600 milligrams of DHA. Now, how many do they recommend you take a day? 2. Yikes. So, right, so now you're getting 1,200 milligrams and the recommendation is 2 grams. So you're 800 milligrams short. So really, you should be taking 3, which is interesting. I wonder if Needed also has the omega. These are both the companies that I really like for prenatals. I've used both of them. I have discounts for both. Definitely check it out. So let's look at Needed. Now, Needed, I'm doing this live, which is, interesting. Oh, interesting. Okay, so Needed is 500 milligrams of DHA, 500 milligrams of EPA. Now, how many do they recommend you take per serving? This is the biggest thing. Oh, it says 2 soft gels daily. That's so interesting. Vegans take 2 to 4 daily. Yeah, see? I still think that's low. So for me personally, like I have drastically increased my DHA after learning about how it is stripped from the brain. So do your research, and that is to say you might need more and you can take more than what the supplement recommends. Next up is protein. I talk about this a lot, but we do want to make sure we are getting enough protein. 30 grams at breakfast or more, ideally even 60 grams at breakfast, and then 100 to 120 grams daily. My recommendation is 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of ideal body weight. If you want to be 140 pounds, that is your ideal, then 140 grams of protein a day. This is easier to do if you front load your protein in the morning. What I do is I do coffee with 2 scoops of protein and milk. And I switch up my nut milk, sometimes coconut milk, depending on how I'm feeling. And that is how I get in at least, I think my protein powder is, man, it's big scoops, the new one I got. I think that's about 60 grams of protein to start the day. Then sometimes I'll have sourdough with eggs as well. So that's a great start to the day. What you'll also notice with that protein is that if you front load your protein early in the morning, when the afternoon comes, when we hit 2 p.m., 3 p.m., you actually are not going to necessarily have any dip in energy that you might typically have. This is so cool to see because I've helped so many clients with this of it's not that you need a certain supplement to help with energy at that time. It's just that you need to balance your blood sugar so that you're not having a massive crash after lunch. And it actually does start in the morning. The blood sugar entire hormonal cascade starts in the morning, right when you wake up. So that's a great way to do it. These amino acids that are in protein are the raw material for serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, all of the molecules that help us feel good and happy. The glycine rich, I talked about this on a recent podcast episode that you guys listened to, but glycine rich things like bone broth and collagen and slow cooked meats, anything in the slow cooker, bone marrow. This supports GABA, and this is the same system that is hit by the allopregnanolone collapse that I previously talked about. So far for nutrition, DHA and protein. Next, we have iron. I'm actually somebody who struggles with keeping healthy iron levels. I'm not anemic, but I always kind of in the lower than optimal range. And I do want to say a really interesting thing that women don't realize with iron is that if you have tattoos, if you get your eyebrows microbladed, or you have any semi-permanent makeup, if you are low in iron, your body will actually pull iron from the pigmentation. So your tattoos and your eyebrows will fade faster than somebody who has optimal iron levels, which I find fascinating and makes sense. So when we talk about iron, it's not just about being anemic, like I said. It is about your hemoglobin. And the hemoglobin tells you if you're anemic right now, but your ferritin tells you what you have stored. I'm going to talk about how to get your lab tests in a second. Ferritin matters more for mood and brain fog. And postpartum iron depletion is wildly underscreened. The demand, so you can actually get your ferritin levels tested. It's actually an at-home test. So you don't even have to go to a clinic to do it. And you can do lots of things here to increase your ferritin. Lots of red meat, liver, lentils, vitamin C helps with absorption, oysters, things like that. Blood sugar, I kind of talked about. Don't skip breakfast, protein and fat at every meal. That is, I think, what a lot of people are really good at now. I think we kind of understand how to balance a meal when we create a meal. Where's the fat? Where's the protein every single time? And this kind of sets the stage for the whole day. The last part I want to talk about here, actually, no, I'm going to save this for when we talk about supplements. Okay, let's get into lifestyle and biohacking. There are a lot of things here, and a lot of them are free, which is awesome. So we have to talk about sleep. Sleep is it's so difficult and so complicated for people with kids, for moms with kids. Even when your kid gets older, if they are sick or they have an infection or they're scared of the dark or there's a new baby in the house and then it's disrupting the whole house or there's noise, like there's so much that can disrupt sleep. Or maybe your kid is still sleeping in your bed and I just got my toddler out of my bed, guys. I'm so happy about it. Callahan is sleeping in his crib. Hallelujah. Sing it from the mountaintops. I'm so happy. I'm sleeping beside my husband again. That's nice. Prior to this, we were traveling for 4 months. We co-slept. And then when we got home, he was so used to sleeping with us, he would not sleep by himself. And so we alternated sleeping with him in his room on the floor mattress. Finally broke that curse, and nothing against co-sleeping. It was great for the time, but like I need my space. I don't want to be kicked in the stomach in the middle of the night. My toddler moves everywhere. I'm done. I'm done with this part of my life, and thank the Lord. So I understand significantly the protected sleep cycle that we all dream of. What can we actually do here? That's the thing is like when I hear sleep tips for postpartum or for early motherhood, it's like, cool. Like, what do you actually want me to do? Right? Like if I'm waking up to breastfeed, what am I not supposed to do that anymore? There can be a limit on what you can do here. But there are actually a lot of little tweaks that you can make that will make a difference. So really what I want to talk about is this idea of creating a very healthy sleep environment, right? So this is very simple. I think a lot of people do this. Blackout curtains, using a face eye mask, earplugs if you need it. If you have the monitor beside you, maybe only one earplug, white noise machine, cold room, comfy. harder mattress, cool air, all of those, right? That's creating a beautiful sleep environment so that even if you're waking up for baby or for kid, or your teenager is coming home at the middle of the night after going to a party and you wake up every time they come home, you're able to fall asleep quickly afterwards by creating this very healthy sleep environment. And that sleep environment is associated with how we were born and how we are biologically supposed to sleep when we slept in caves, right? Cold, dark, had some sort of white noise, trickling noise, whatever it might be, and that's it. Phone off before you go to bed, like an hour before, ideally even more. And I should show you, I have so many hacks that you can do for this. I have set my phone up so that it can go red. Actually, I'll just show you on camera if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. Okay, so this is my phone. If I triple click, you see how it went red? Yeah. If you're watching and you're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Just ask your AI agent. They'll explain it. It's like a shortcut that you just make red on your phone on your settings. It's amazing. I use it at night all the time if I have to go on my phone. I have red lights in my bedroom. I do not do blue light. I don't do bright light. I read in red before I go to sleep. No bright lights, okay? And that is very, very helpful as well. Is like, let's protect our circadian rhythm as much as we can, even if we are waking up. Blue light blocks melatonin production. When we block melatonin production, we aren't able to sleep for longer, get into deep sleep, or fall asleep faster. So that is kind of what I would look at is like the environment, watching your blue light exposure, and then really just trying to get those 90 minutes in, right? Like at least a full sleep cycle in if you can. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to do crazy things so you can get all your sleep in because the reality is when you're a mom, you lose sleep and that is part of it. Okay. And then in conjunction with this is the morning sunlight piece, right? So when you wake up in the morning is get 20 to 30 minutes of morning aerobic exercise in the sun outdoors. So we are now entering summer here in Canada, which is amazing, which is why I'm here. And this has the biggest, when you do this aerobic, can you guys hear my toddler crying? 20 to 30 minutes of morning aerobic exercise can really help. This is the biggest acute BDNF spike of any lifestyle intervention. So walking counts, walking your stroller. I used to do this a lot of like being up early in the morning, breakfast, coffee, walk the stroller, walk with Callahan in the stroller on the streets in the summer. And it was amazing. Light on your eyes within the first 2 hours of waking really helps to reset the cortisol. So, like you see in all the movies, open the blinds, open the curtains right when you wake up so that you are getting the bright sunlight in your face and helping with setting your circadian rhythm. We want to feel awake and alert in the morning, and sunlight drastically helps with this. We want this morning cortisol to fire where it should, right? Not at 3 a.m., but at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., around then when you're getting up with the sun. Okay, that is one of the other ones that I was going to talk about is the vagal nerve activation. So this is interesting because now there are like so many different technologies and devices that you can get that talk about the vagus nerve. And some of them are great and some of them are a little, I don't know, don't really do as much as they might claim. But you could actually do a lot of vagal nerve activation through things that are free and certain activities. So the vagus nerve is dysregulated for years after postpartum. And the daily low cost one that you can do is actually humming. So, like when you hum, it vibrates your vagus nerve right here, if you're watching on the camera, which is like right by your throat. Or you can gargle water for 60 seconds, slow exhales longer than inhales, cold water face dunks kind of do the same thing here. But really skip the ice baths until you're like 6 months postpartum or even further, just because that can be too stressful for a lot of mamas. And then the sauna as well is really great for the vagus nerve in this way. So what I actually like about this is that when you sing, you're actually activating your vagus nerve. So when you're singing to your baby or your toddler or your kid, you're singing them goodnight. Or like I sing now when we brush Callahan's teeth to help him brush his teeth. We sing happy birthday. That is actually activating the vagus nerve. So you're doing something calming for mama in that moment while you're singing to your kid, which I love. There is other things you can do as well. HRV tracking is a big one. So I have my Aura ring. I just ordered the new one. I know I'm so late to it. Finally, I've had my Gen 3 since 2021. I had no idea I had it that long. And then I had the Gen 2 before that. So I've had my Aura ring since 2019, which is crazy. Anyway, I finally got Gen 4. It's coming. This one barely even works. So excited about that. And persistently low HRV shows you how stressed you are. And it can really just show you that you need help and recovery and support. It's a signal to subtract, not necessarily add things, right? So you could subtract things that are stressing you out, things that are overwhelming, and maybe do less is a good way to start. It's also a signal that you're not ideally getting enough sleep as well, right? Sleep is one of the most resting and healing periods of our day or our entire life. I think another part here that I want to talk about with lifestyle, with this mental health aspect, is the decision fatigue. I definitely felt this. You have all these small decisions you have to make all of the time when you're a mom, and it can get a lot, like from what's for dinner to, oh, you need new shoes, to, oh, I got to sign you up for soccer tonight at 8 p.m. and make sure you get a spot, to, oh, me and my husband haven't gone on a date. Okay, I should probably plan that. Oh, I got to get cash out to pay the nanny, right? Like it's literally so many things all the time. And so sometimes you can actually just like cut decisions to make life easier. And things like this, things, for example, that I have found, right? Like have the same breakfast, same couple of breakfasts that you make, have the same outfits, have a capsule wardrobe, the same things that you're pulling on, same weekly meals. It's not laziness. It's just like reducing the neurological things that you're focusing on. It's a neurological strategy in a sense. So I actually felt this a lot when I was traveling, right? We were living out of a suitcase. The clothes that I had were the clothes that I had in my suitcase. I had 2 workout outfits. Okay, that was it. It was like, which sports bra out of these 2 am I going to wear today? I had one set of pajamas because you can buy pajamas anywhere. So if I ever needed more, I would just go buy them. And it was great. It showed me how little we need, actually. But also, it was great to have less decisions. And it was quick, it was fast. So I really encourage you to look at your life and say, okay, where can I cut things? Why are we doing so much? Why are we doing so many different breakfasts and lunches? And so, like, yes, diversity of nutrition is important in order to get adequate nutrients in, but you can still kind of be a bit more strategic about it. And now with things like Claude or even ChatGPT, like you can create a whole entire meal plan and have that rhythm going in your household so that you have more mental capacity. I think as well here, I'm going to pause here before I get into supplements, is really went through a period of a lot of anxiety and overwhelm during my postpartum, during my first, I don't know, year and a half, maybe first year. Yeah. And I think I didn't realize how overwhelmed I was or how anxious I was until it went away, until it stopped. And the reason it stopped was multiple things. I started to do less, I started to automate more, and I also started a full stack of peptides. And that's why I talk about peptides so much now, is because peptides like actually changed my life. They did. Like I went on a peptide right away for anxiety. I went on one for anxiety, energy, skin, gut health, inflammation, and I just did a full protocol for myself and I felt amazing within a month. And then within 3 months, it was like, holy smokes, where were these a year ago for me, right? I knew about peptides. Actually, the first podcast episode I did on peptides was from 2021. It was from a while ago. But then I was traveling and then I was pregnant and then I was breastfeeding. And then I was like, oh, I'm just going to pause here before I start them. And now I do them all the time and have all my family members on them and all these things. So that's just to say, I also stopped breastfeeding. What else? I changed how I structured my business. I automated more with AI and I did less. And I can tell you looking back that man, I wish I had known this stuff so much sooner. It would have made a world of a difference for me to feel less overwhelmed and to have less anxiety like in my belly. Less racing thoughts, less intrusive thoughts. There we go. Yeah, I went through intrusive thoughts for sure. And it was very shocking to see myself go through that. So I just want you to know that if you're listening to this and you feel that anxiety and overwhelm, there is a lot of support for you out there. I'm somebody who can help you. And that's not coming from a place of me trying to sell you anything or anything like that at all. It's just because I've been there. And I know what it's like to feel lonely as a mom. I know what it's like to have anxiety. I know what it's like to worry about your kid falling down the stairs or walking into the counter or the dog pushing the baby over. And everywhere you go, all you see is all the threats around you that could possibly hurt your child. Okay? I get it. And it's terrifying and it's overwhelming. And it does get easier and it does get better. And so that's why this whole episode is existing, is like, I just want to help those women. And the depression part is, wow, like I can't personally speak to the depression part, but man, does it affect a lot of women, right? Like there's such a massive hormonal change that happens. And society is not built to be a village for mothers anymore. It's like, oh, have these kids. Okay, great. But what about my career? What about my body? Oh, and then you get to the point, and I think this is relatable for every single mom, where you have this thought, and the thought goes, "Is this my life now? Oh, is this my life now that I'm a taxi driver? And oh, I don't have time for my workout today. Darn. Is this my life now that I'm waking up 4 times a night to breastfeed my kid? But the kid's not latching well, and my boobs really hurt, my breasts really hurt, and I'm struggling with this. Is this my life now where I don't recognize my body in the mirror anymore? I don't feel comfortable being naked in front of my partner, or I don't feel comfortable being naked in front of myself." And again, that is not just year 1, year 2. I have a friend who had a son 5 years ago, and she to this day talks to me about her postpartum body. And she's like, "My body," she's like, "I'm still working on it. I'm hoping to get to this place." Like, that's how she still talks, is like, "I had a baby and this changed things, and I am not back to what I was." The goal is not to be, the goal is not to bounce back. Okay. The goal is not to bounce back. The goal is to feel like yourself again and actually feel better than you did. Feel better, look better, show up better for you, yourself, your family, your work, your community. That is the goal. Let's talk about supplements. So when we talk about mental health, I want to talk about creatine. So this is something I did not do, and I would do again differently. A lot of these things I didn't do, and I would do differently looking back. So if you take one supplement, arguably this would be the one to take. Women have 70 to 80% lower endogenous creatine stores than men. Depression rates spike in women at the exact transitions where creatine depletes. So puberty, the luteal phase, right? So luteal is after you ovulate, before your period. Postpartum and perimenopause. Those 4 times are actually associated with when depression rates spike. And creatine is the lowest, which is crazy. Creatine also, there was a study that came out, also accelerated SSRI responses in women with depression. Creatine in therapy beat therapy alone for depression. That was another study. And it reduces cognitive fatigue in sleep-deprived populations, which are mothers. It is safe during pregnancy and it is safe during breastfeeding. Did I take any creatine? Like, no, I didn't. Maybe here and there if it was in a random supplement, but I was not taking 3 to 5 grams a day. Absolutely not. So 3 to 5 grams a day, ideally 5. This is kind of the token, like a lot of the research, you see a lot of people talking about 5 grams, 5 grams, 5 grams. The one that I take is from Mind Body Green. Is it Mind Body Green? Yeah, it was great. It doesn't have a flavor. You just add it into everything. It's super easy. Like if I do my protein, milk, and coffee in the morning, I just add in a thing of creatine. And I also add in collagen to that as well. So it's super great. So if you are feeling more than the baby blues, if you're feeling sad, down, depressed, anything, please, creatine, add it in. It's an easy one. Something that's a little more fringe is saffron. I did a podcast episode on this. You can look on my website. If you just type in saffron in the search bar, you'll find it. But this is very interesting. So the recommendation is about 28 to 30 milligrams a day here. And there have been multiple controlled trials that show the efficacy compared to fluoxetine for mild, moderate depression. And it showed specifically in postpartum women that it can help with postpartum depression symptoms within 8 weeks. This is one of the only botanicals with this level of evidence for mothers specifically, right? So much research is done on animals and men, and sometimes it's done on women, but man, is it hardly ever done on mothers. So look for Affron or saffron extract standardized to crocin content. So that's that is the molecule that you're looking for. Other ones that we can talk about would be inositol, which I did take. And this is the Myo and D-Chiro blend. 2 to 4 grams daily for anxiety, 4 grams if PCOS is in the picture, which is now PMOS. It has been renamed, which is amazing. This modulates the serotonin system at the receptor level and particularly effective for racing thoughts, can't shut off the brain presentation, safe during pregnancy and breastfeeding for both of them. The next one is magnesium. I did take a lot of magnesium during my first, year and a half. But Magnesium L-threonate is the one that reliably crosses the blood-brain barrier. So you really want to look at getting enough of this. About 144 milligrams of elemental magnesium at night. You can stack both. You could do magnesium glycinate and threonate, but make sure you have this threonate in there. Another one, there's so many supplements. I don't want to do too many because I don't want to overwhelm you, but you can do glycine. I mentioned glycine previously, but glycine, about 3 grams of glycine 30 minutes before you go to bed can be very helpful. This can drop the core body temperature and directly supports the GABA precursor pool and improves subjective sleep quality even with shorter duration. So you can stack this with magnesium and do magnesium and glycine before bed. I would do a vitamin D test. I would look at your vitamin D levels, and you really want to, kind of the higher the better. Aim for 50 to 70 ng per mil, but even maybe a little bit higher in my personal experience. Most mothers have this pretty low. So you can get this tested. This is so easy to get tested. Walk in clinics, at-home test, get your vitamin D levels tested, especially if it's winter, and you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of sunshine. The last one I want to talk about, because I think it's just interesting for this whole discussion, is methylene blue. Now, this is a very fringe addition, and some people are here for it and some people are not, but 1 to 4 milligrams daily, and the pharmaceutical grade is really what you are looking for here. The mitochondrial electron transport chain is supported from this, which directly boosts ATP in neurons. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it's used at higher doses clinically for depression. Never combine this with SSRIs, and be careful if you're breastfeeding. You have to make this decision for yourself. I am not telling you to take it. There is no safety data, of course, on methylene blue and breastfeeding. But if you have kids that are older, absolutely. But this is one of the most interesting tools out there right now that people are talking about for brain fog or for moms who are stretched too much and don't want to go on an SSRI. So 1 to 4 milligrams daily. I would start lower, see how you feel, and then you can titrate up as needed. I would be careful with overdoing it with the supplements. Like I would be careful with high dose of ashwagandha or rhodiola. We don't want to blunt the cortisol system here. We want to have a cortisol curve higher in the morning, lower at night. And if you do this, it actually can blunt that curve. So we do need to be careful not to overdo it on the adaptogens. Okay. Last but not least, peptides. Oh my gosh. Okay. Disclaimer first, of course, this is educational purposes only, not medical advice. And peptides only work as hard as you do. They have a place as an advanced layer, an advanced tool on top of healthy, solid foundations that we just talked about. Okay? Okay. So, peptides every single mother should know about when we talk about mental health. Number 1, Selank. Oh, this is the number 1 I would recommend to every single mother on the planet, if you are feeling like your mental health is struggling. Selank is incredible. I took Selank for, how long did I take it for? 6 weeks? And then I came off. And right now I'm not taking it because I don't feel like I need it, which is a really good point to make with peptides is you don't need to be on them forever. You're not hooked forever. You can take it, feel better, and come off of it. GLP-1s is a little bit of an exception there, which is beyond this discussion. But for these ones, yes, you can monitor how your symptoms are and then come off of them. So, Selank, this restores the GABA tone. It is the missing piece for the anxiety driver. I could not tell you how quickly I felt better once starting Selank. It literally, oh my God, like my anxiety was, I don't want to say it was gone, but man, it was better within a week or 2 of starting Selank, of like calmer, less butterflies in your stomach. Like, that anxious feeling that you got really in your belly? It was gone. It was gone. It was incredible. Now, this doesn't replace the allopregnanolone that we talked about earlier, but it works on the system that destabilized it when that disappeared. Reduces cortisol without sedation, so it does not make you sleepy. It doesn't even really make you calm. Like it just makes you like, it just gets rid of the edge that you might kind of always feel. Takes the edge off in a way. If you are prone to anxiety, this is the one for you, right? Like this is what you would take is Selank. And dosages and protocols and everything is in my community. You're welcome to join my community, The Longer Life. I have so much in there about this. And I actually have an entire motherhood room, by the way. And it talks about, what does it talk about? Fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, breastfeeding, weaning, and just overall motherhood. And talks about every single peptide, bioregulator, how much to take, when to take it, how to create your stack, what goes with it, and how to support it, and where to buy it. Like literally, there's no piece of information that's not there. And if it's not there, you can tell me and I'll add it. So Selank, yes, anxiety, 100%. If you have teenagers, it doesn't, if you're a grandma, it does not matter. This is the one for you. Please, just try it. Try it for a month and see how you feel. The next one would be Semax, right? So Semax and Selank kind of go together. My husband is on both of these. And there is quite a bit of research on both of these, actually. But it dramatically upregulates BDNF, right? So BDNF is the growth signal for neurons, most consistent biological finding in depression and brain fog. And it also upregulates dopamine, which is the chemistry sleep deprivation depletes. So you can do this intranasal, you can do it through subcutaneous injection, daily low dose. So when you put Semax and Selank together, it creates this comprehensive neurochemical brain support, especially for moms. And it is epic. It is amazing. Like I've had so many women have so much success with this. You can start this. So if you are not breastfeeding, honestly, you could start this within 4 to 6 weeks after birth. Absolutely. If you are an older mom or you have kids who are older, you can start this anytime. If you are breastfeeding, m- I would what I would do and what I recommend is probably different. Knowing what I know now, I would recommend you make the decision for yourself, and it is your body and you are allowed to do what you want. You just have to understand that there's literally no data at all on the safety or the harmfulness of it and its impact on breast milk that is going to your child, right? So you make the decision that's best for you. Years past delivery and you're still struggling, the same protocol applies. And it's incredible, right? Because you're getting the reduction in anxiety from Selank, but you're getting almost the nootropic effect of Cmax at the same time, which helps with memory, which helps with brain fog, right? And you're feeling better and you're feeling less anxious and you're not as worried about everything as you once were. So it's a beautiful stack for mothers. Like, honestly, really a lot of people, but especially mothers. Next, we have NAD. Now, NAD is actually not a peptide, but I throw it in every time with peptides because it helps with certain peptide pathways. And yeah, you can't really take an NAD supplement. So that's why it's like kind of one of those weird ones in the middle. So this helps with energy, and it is the cellular energy currency of your neurons. So the maternal brain is in NAD depletion. Pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, sleep deprivation, all depleted. 18 months out, most mothers' NAD looks like somebody from 20 years older. Yikes. So, what you want to do here is take your NAD. Now, there is a connection to Cmax, which I just talked about. So, Cmax upregulates BDNF expression, and NAD provides the cellular energy to execute that signal. So, taking them together makes sense. BDNF without NAD is just like a phone with no battery. There's no point, right? So, you can do an IV drip. Again, does that make sense for a mom? No. Who has time to sit there for 3 hours and get an IV drip of NAD? So you can do a subcutaneous injection, like exactly what you do with peptide. You have to be really careful with these. There are a lot of people who react to doing this subcutaneously because they do it too fast. So you have to do it very slow. Like when you're injecting into your body, very, very slow, like 1 to 2 minutes for that whole injection, which is crazy. But yes, you can also do precursors. So you can do NMN or NR. It's lower leverage, but it is accessible. And this is super easy. That's where it can be a supplement. Get it ordered. My favorite NAD precursor, I'll have to find it. Oh, the one that I like is Novos. That one's really great. And you can use my discount code biohacking Brittany. That one is amazing. And then I also like, but there are a couple of that I like that I use and I regularly use them. You can do it nasally. So right now I'm actually doing an NAD nasal spray. Again, the sourcing for that's in my community. You can take a look at that. That one is great as well. I do not currently inject NAD because I'm taking it nasally. And so I haven't had any experience with the reaction, but my husband has when he injected too fast and had his abdomen kind of like it just got really red and itchy and he had to take an antihistamine and then it went away. So if you are breastfeeding, again, be careful here. But honestly, you could take the oral precursors. I took the oral precursors during breastfeeding and it was fine. NAD is one of the most underused interventions. So it's not just for early postpartum. Arguably, most women should be on it in some form, whether it's nasal, subcutaneously, or the precursors, because it depletes with age. It also depletes with alcohol. If you are drinking, you are depleting your NAD levels, which impacts your energy, which impacts your mood, your mental health, and actually causes you to age faster. So yeah, just a heads up. All right. I want to get into bioregulators quickly here. And this is kind of a new thing that I've added to my community recently. So, bioregulators are interesting. They are very short peptides, like 2 to 4 amino acids, very short. And most of the most of the research comes out of Russia from somebody named Vladimir Kavinson. And these bioregulators are different from peptides because they are isolated from animal organ tissue and they exist naturally in your body. So they are organ focused, whereas peptides are focused on usually like more of a goal or a symptom that you're dealing with or healing. They enter the cell nucleus, they regulate gene expression in the tissue that they came from. So they work on a genetic level. They are tissue specific epigenetic activators. That is how they are also different from peptides. Peptides do not work on the epigenetic side of things. So, things to know, these are oral capsules. There's no injections, which makes it very easy for mothers and for everybody. They are approved as pharmaceuticals in Russia with decades of human clinical data, and they are currently unregulated right now in North America. It is a gray market, just like everything else with peptides. So, the three that I would recommend now, these have funny names. But again, they will be in my show notes and they're in my community if you want sourcing information and dosages and things like that. So cortigen, this is the cortical bioregulator. So it targets the gray matter regions that hits the brain during pregnancy. And you would do this for a 30-day course. The next one is the seralutin, which is the broader brain and CNS system that it works on. Cortigen targets the cortex, whereas seralutin targets the rest. So usually they are actually stacked together. And then the last one, which a lot of people know about, is epitalon. Epitalon is actually a pineal bioregulator. It normalizes the circadian rhythm and melatonin, and this actually helps with energy as well. And this is great for sleep for everybody. So what's interesting about these is like depending on the bioregulator that you take, some of them are like once a year you do, and then you never do it again. Like epitalon, you do once a year or twice a year, and that's it. Some you do 30 days on, 60 days off. Like it's a very different protocol than peptides, right? Because peptides are typically like 8 to 12 weeks. You take 4 weeks off, you go on it again if you feel like you need it. Some peptides you can be on for a year. It depends. These ones the duration is much shorter, and the space between the durations or the times that you take it is typically much longer. I haven't taken any, I think I took a few bioregulators years ago, but this is something I'm looking into adding back to my stack, and I'm actually getting my husband the thyroid one because he has thyroid issues that actually run in his family. I'm probably going to do the ones for, I forgot the name of it because they all have like the funny names, but I'm looking at doing the one for ovaries, and I'll do the ones for brain health that I just mentioned. And that's probably it because I feel like everything else is in great shape right now. Okay. Last but not least, I want to wrap up. I know this was a lot, and thank you for listening so far if you're still here with me. Things that nobody's telling mothers. I kind of made this like list, and I kind of said some of those, but here we go. Postpartum anxiety does not equal postpartum depression. Again, I'm saying postpartum, but you could be 5 years. Your kids could be 5 years old, 10 years old, 15, okay? Depression is like a flatness. It's weeping. It's a loss of pleasure in life. Anxiety is racing thoughts, hypervigilance, intrusive worry, and 3 a.m. wake-ups. Almost half of mothers in research have predominantly anxiety and actually not depression. But they are handed an SSRI built for depression, and then they wonder why it doesn't work. So if you relate to anything I just said, Selank is probably the most underused intervention for postpartum anxiety that I know of. SSRIs work for some mothers and not others, and there's biological reason for that. So SSRIs partially raise allopregnanolone, oh my gosh, sorry, over time. But the better response is in mothers whose primary deficit is that. So mothers whose deficit is actually the BDNF or the NAD that we talked about, they don't really get as much benefit from it. So that's why it's great for some and not great for everybody. And like I said, there is that 9 to 12 month suicide window that I want to just like really give moms so much love if you're in that space right now. I just hate that like most mothers are out of care by then. There's no follow-up, there's no check-in. And I don't think I knew, did I know? No, I don't think I knew that my mental health, the worst peak would be between 9 and 12 months. Like, I don't think I knew that. So please understand that if you are in that window, this is like, has been reported that this is what is not normal, but what we do see in women. If your symptoms are not resolved by 12 months, this is not your new normal. This is not your life now. We need to run labs. I would get a full biomarker test done. And there are so many great companies in the States to do this. So you could do Function, or what's the other one? Superhuman, is it called? There's a few different ones that are actually really great. In Canada, it is now harder to do this. I'm talking to a new company right now called Naya Health, and I'm hoping to do my blood work with them and do full biomarkers with them so that I can test everything myself. Get your TSH looked at, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, everything with your thyroid, your ferritin, your vitamin D levels. And I would even look at, oh my gosh, you could get an omega panel looked at. So you could actually look at your DHA levels that we talked about. You could get that specifically looked at. You can look at, so much. Fasting insulin, fasting glucose, your inflammation levels. There's so much that you can do to kind of assess what is going on in your body. It's much easier when we have data to make changes, right? So just to recap, nutrition, we want to be looking at DHA, protein, ferritin, blood sugar stability, and methylated Bs. I didn't really get into B vitamins a lot, but methylated B vitamins are also crucial. Biohacking and lifestyle, we have our protected sleep cycle, the morning sun and movement, vagus nerve, and reducing decision fatigue. Our supplements are creatine and saffron, inositol, magnesium, glycine, vitamin D, and methylene blue if you want. And then peptides, Semax, Selank, NAD+, and then the bioregulators that I also mentioned. Foundations first, peptides last, please. That is the order for this protocol and for everything. You could not add in an advanced layer if you're solid, if your foundations are not solid. So if something landed for you, I want you to be in my room in my masterclass next Thursday, June 4th at 1 p.m. It's called Rewritten by Motherhood, a free longevity and peptides masterclass. I can't wait. This has been on my heart to do for so long, and I'm just so excited to share and go deep with you. It's a place I can answer live questions, and things I can't share publicly, I can share on there. And everything is actually geared towards mothers specifically, which is amazing. Now, link for everything I talked about today is in the show notes and on my website. Please sign up for my masterclass. The link is it's all over my website. It's like the first thing you see when you click on my website, biohackingbrittany.com. If you want to send this to another mother right now that you know potentially might be struggling with her mental health, whether it's anxiety, stress, depression, intrusive thoughts, overwhelm, whatever it might be, please do that so that she knows that she's heard and seen and that there is options out there for her. If you have questions about something that I said, send me a message on Instagram at biohackingbrittany.com, at biohackingbrittany. I answer every single one. You can also email me, info@biohackingbrittany.com. I'm happy to help. And yes, I do see clients one-on-one. I just don't really advertise it on my website, not yet anyway. So we can set up a call if that's something you want to do. I'm excited to see you on Thursday at my masterclass. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you soon for another episode.